Here in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Today, the 13th day in the month of July 2021. My name is Oluchi Inobong.
Well, good morning, Africa. Hello there. My name is Olisa Chukuma. We are quite excited to have you join us today as we bring you the latest news and top stories from beyond and across the African continent. Yes, indeed. Now, so we have headlines today, and we'll be starting out with that today. July the 13th is a Tuesday.
And it's all about the bandits who have released the Kaduna Emir, hold on to daughters and others.
We'll also take you to South Africa, where there's unrest and the president confirms the number of victims in the country.
And we'll be talking about IPOB. Federal government welcomes Ohanese's requests.
Plus on breakfast, trends across Africa with the trend waves. We'll tell you what's trending.
And we'll be looking at the newspaper headlines for you this morning on Breakfast Central.
News Central ní ẹ̀ ń wò.
All right, it's Tuesday, the 13th day of July 2021. Let's begin the program with a look at the morning papers. And we're starting out in Tanzania with the Citizen to see what they have for us this morning in Tanzania, the Citizen.
Right. And the Citizen paper is talking about a lot of people who haven't had their businesses insured. The very first big story here is why that business should be insured. Now, none of the traders, according to the papers, who were affected by last weekend's fire at Kariakoo Market have lodged insurance claims, meaning that their businesses may have gone up in smoke. That's what it says. And it also gives a number. It says the number of traders who were affected when fire broke out at the Kariakoo Market last weekend were a total of 220. You will have more information in the Citizen this morning. Also talking about South African story, pro-Zuma protest turned ugly. That's what it says in the Citizen this morning. Also from page 3 of the Citizen, we have poverty, in quotes, main driver of early pregnancies and marriage. You have more of this in the paper. And the very last one we have from the Citizen says, court orders security firm to pay Dangote 764 million shillings. More on this from the Citizen.
Talking about the same Dangote of Africa. Right, let's move straight to the Daily Monitor in Uganda to see what they have for us this morning. So it talks about lockdown, 10 people murdered each day. Now, this is a big crime story. It says, according to police, up to 73 people were killed, many through mob action in the past week alone, fueled by domestic violence, reduced security patrols, and a distressed population as the country braves a 42-day lockdown imposed by to stem the further spread of coronavirus. Don't forget, it's been quite a hard lockdown in Uganda and Kampala after President Museveni imposes measures to COVID-19. Also on the front page, still talking about COVID-19 in Uganda, migrant workers undergo confirmatory tests 24 hours before flight. And you have a picture there of a couple of migrant workers in Uganda going through what is called mandatory tests of COVID-19. At the top right of the paper, one of a rainbow, if you may, it said, meets Graham, a young lad, picture there, who has been a co-pilot 4 times. So he has more flight experience than myself combined. And I've spent like 3 decades plus on this earth. Well, good luck to the young man. And the left there, Magogo linked to sports production companies. All of that and more on the front page of the Daily Monitor in Uganda.
Right, that's it for the newspaper review we have for you today, July 13, 2021. It is now time for our top stories. We begin in West Africa, Nigeria, with the top stories and with news that Alhaji Al-Hassan Adamu, the Emir of Kajuru, has been released from captivity. It is also alleged that 13 other persons abducted from the monarch's private residence, including his daughter, are still in captivity. Now, according to sources, the Saki Kajuru was released around the forest areas leading to Kajuru's castle, and a member of the Emir's family said he's well and will be taken to the hospital for examination.
Quite an extraordinary story, I have to say. Now, Ibrahim Unuwa Kajuru, a former chairman of the Nigerian Union of Journalists in Kaduna State, confirmed the monarch's release. It is not unclear, though, if any ransom was paid, but the bandits earlier demanded the whooping sum of 200 million naira for the release of the 85-year-old monarch. Now, gunmen had on Sunday morning abducted Kajuru and 13 of his family members in his palace. Now, joining us this morning once again to really make sense of what's really going down in Kaduna, it's our correspondent and bureau chief in the nation's capital, Amadine Uyi. Well, Amadine, good morning to you. A traditional monarch being abducted in Kaduna is clearly not making any sense, is it now, in terms of the level of insecurity in that state?
Good morning, Olisa. Good morning, Oluchi. If you have followed the trend from Kaduna State, I think it's not surprising. Remember that a few years ago, the former king of or chief of Kajuru was abducted and killed. So it's not the first time, but if you have followed the insecurity events in Kaduna State, nothing from that state surprises anybody anymore. If a former chief was abducted, killed, up to today, nobody has been held responsible. And then the Emir of Kajuru was abducted. But it's not yet Uhuru because members of his family are still in captivity. So most probably he was released to go and raise the ransom for the bandits or kidnappers or whatever name we try to tag them. But it's just a reflection of what happens in Kaduna. Remember, I said earlier on this program that up to 90% of the kidnappings that go on in Kaduna, they go unreported. That happen in Kaduna go unreported. And it's just when prominent persons are kidnapped and killed or kidnapped for ransom that it gets to the press. But as it is a terrible, terrible, terrible insecurity situation in the northwestern state of Kaduna.
Right. Now, Amadine, looking at Kaduna in particular, it is the center for a lot of industrial and commercial activity in the northwestern part of Nigeria. It is home to a population of about 12 million people. And you've rightly said, this is not the first time we're having an emir being abducted. Sometime last year in January of 2020, a similar scenario happened. Are we starting to see a new approach towards kidnapping, which is targeting rulers of community in the northern part of Nigeria?
No, it's not the first time a traditional chief in Kaduna has been abducted. If you follow the events, especially Kajuru, Chikun, Kafanchan, most of those areas in the southern Kaduna is where we've had a lot of insecurity, a lot of attacks, a very high level of insecurity situation there. It's a norm for them. Those people, they live every day with their in prayers, hoping that something will be done. It's very clear the state government does not have the capacity to be able to quell or bring an end to the insecurity situation. But like I said, it's not the first time, it's not the second time. So I would not think it's a new norm there. I think it's just a reflection of what has been happening. The bandits, anybody they want to target, they target because the residents, they are like sitting dogs for those communities because the bandits just enter communities, do what they want to do. Those they want to abduct, they abduct. The police and the army, they don't have the capacity to police those communities. That's why we have called for a new security approach. But like I said, it's not the first time, it's not the second time, and I don't think it's going to be the last time it's happening in Kaduna. So for me, it's not a new norm. It's just a reflection of how bad the insecurity situation is over there.
Quite a sad one, Amadine. A video has emerged immediately. The emir returned home, of course, without his daughter. Let's take a look at that footage right here on Breakfast Central.
Jama'an Kajuru ina yi muku barka da saduwa da ni.
Okay, so that is the Emir of Kajuru himself. Quite an emotional speech there. He talked about congratulating his people for uniting again and clearly broke down in tears. Ahmadine, that's a man who's gone to the great beyond, if you may, and back again. He's 85, yes, we know. Perhaps will have ill health. He does look, quite fit, but you can't take away the emotional turmoil of being taken and released, and just like you perhaps theorized, perhaps has to now look for the money to get his family and his daughter and his people.
Olisa, nobody should go through what these people are going through. Imagine someone at his age, 85, having to go through this. It definitely, just like you said, he's gone to the great beyond and has come back. Right now, he'll be thinking, where can such man, such elderly person, you see how he's dressed? He doesn't look like someone that has millions in his bank or billions in the palace. Where will such a person be able to raise that kind of money? So you see, criminality is taking a new dimension. It's taking a new trend. And until something is done to curb it, I don't think that man, from the way I'm seeing him, I don't think if anything happens to his loved ones, he'll be able to survive. So it's just a wake-up call for the government. Whoever is responsible in designing and mapping our security architecture, we need to put pride and self-arrogance behind. It has nothing to do with whether the army has capacity or the police have capacity. They definitely don't have capacity. It has nothing to do with whether they are well equipped. Because even if you release 2 trillion to security agencies today, can they police all those villages? Can they police these hamlets? The north is not like the south where you see a very large population live in a particular area. The north, they have hamlets and homesteads in several parts. So you see a wide expanse of land. You see about 2, 3, or 4 or 5 huts. Before you travel how many kilometers before you see another one again. The question is, how can you police this kind of communities? So we need to sit down as Nigerians and chart a way forward that will bring an end to this menace.
All right, thank you very much, Ahmadine Uyi, our Abuja Bureau chief and correspondent. It's clearly a heartbreaking story. I can't imagine, traveling through all that Chikun, Kajuru, Kafanchan, Zonkwa regions. These are places I've traveled as a young man in this country, and to think that I dare not perhaps even try now in 2021. Quite mind-boggling. Thank you very much, Ahmadine Uyi, once again.
Thank you, Oluchi.
Right, still staying with the kidnap story in Kaduna. Now, the closure of 13 schools following the kidnap of 140 students and the strings of armed attacks on schools in Kaduna State in northern Nigeria have had both security experts and educationists in the country seeing this act as a threat that could permanently damage children's education in the northern part of Nigeria.
Now, News Central's Omolola Ololade has been following this story and put together this report.
The recent wave of kidnappings continues to worsen the education crisis in northern Nigeria, a region with an incredibly high rate of out-of-school children. This has been a massive disruption to gains that have recorded in years past and now made worse by last year's restrictions imposed due to COVID. With the most recent kidnapping of 140 students in Kaduna State, security experts are of the opinion that bandits no kidnapping students guarantee publicity and government involvement in negotiations, which could translate to a huge amount of money in ransom payment. Some of these experts also give practical solutions to dealing with the situation.
The kidnap for ransom industry is more lucrative than legal activity. The average young man in the north who puts kola nut on his head and sells that kola nut, in a year, the profit is likely to may not be more than 25,000 naira. But that same young man, if he engages in kidnap for ransom, he can make millions of naira and with no consequence really in terms of the administration of criminal justice. The ungoverned spaces that exist in Kaduna State, the forest, the mountainous areas that these bandits hide and continued activities must be dominated, like immediately. And once they are dominated, then we would have prevented them from those havens, and more importantly, from using those ungoverned spaces to keep their victims.
On the implication of these abductions on children's education, particularly in northern Nigeria, academicians say the spate of attacks on schools in the northwest is a double assault on the region.
You can't keep them closed indefinitely. They must learn. Unfortunately, some of these kids now are missing these NECO exams that have started because their schools have been shut down. Especially here in Kaduna, like, a number of schools have been shut down, especially when they're around in areas where, development hasn't gotten there yet. So what do? Shut down, maybe as a temporary measure, but it cannot be a long-term solution. So what happens is that you have more children now becoming out of school. And generally that number now just increases the numbers that we already have that we're even trying to solve in the first place.
Although bandits have made a devastating effect on education across northern Nigeria, stakeholders involved must continue to try to fix the problem against all odds, so the probability of having children with bleak future becomes even lesser. Omolola Ololade reporting for News Central.
All right, thank you very much, Omolola Ololade, our News Central correspondent, putting together that report. So we also had in that report an educationist, an academic, and a security expert. So where do we go from here in northern Nigeria?
I mean, Olisa, looking at Kaduna right now as we speak, over 40% of the population is living below the poverty line. If you're comparing the poverty head ratio, comparing it to a state like Anambra, that is 3 times the effect of what you have in Kaduna. Anambra has three times less, more opportunities, I beg your pardon. If you're comparing the same poverty head count ratio to Lagos, it's 10 times worse in Kaduna as compared to people living in Lagos. Clearly, Kaduna is a central focal point because a lot of commercial and industrial activity in the northern part of the region happens in Kaduna.
And it seems like no type of institution has been spared, whether it's primary or secondary or tertiary, polytechnic, universities, public or private. Everyone seems to be getting, I'm sorry to say, a taste of the sadness or the action, if you may. And it seems that, the government cannot do anything. It's almost helpless. Like if the emir of Kajuru can be taken and schools and people can be taken, then who's next on the list in terms of Kaduna education? Really bedeviling the sector in that part of the country. All right, still Breakfast Central on News Central. More to come on the program.
Now, the Attorney General of the Federation, talking about Nigeria, and the Minister of Justice in the person of Abubakar Malami, has welcomed the formation of a legal team by Ohanaeze Ndigbo to monitor proceedings at the trial of the indigenous people of Biafra, that is the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, which is in line with the doctrine of the right of fair hearing in Section 36 of the Constitution.
Now, in a statement by the Special Assistant on Media and Public Relations, that's Dr. Umar Gwandu, the AGF assured that even without the monitoring team, Nnamdi Kanu would be served justice according to the law. Now, Public Affairs Analyst and Executive Director, Need Network Africa, and Political Analyst Chukwuma Okenwa returns this morning to Breakfast Central to join us. Chukwuma Okenwa, welcome back to Breakfast Central. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Okenwa. All right, so can you tell us what this means and what Ohanaeze Ndigbo is going after by their request?
Well, like you clearly stated, just to ensure that the needed transparency that will help to ensure justice is served, it's given, because of course, when it is done openly, when you have like people who are interested in ensuring that, yes, let a fair trial be given, yes, let all of the full weight of law, if need be, come into play. But of course, in the course of the trial, he has the right to have his people around to ensure that, it doesn't go the usual way of like what we've seen, like even like when he came back to the country, where he wasn't even given the privilege of having his lawyer to be available. But this time around, thankfully, his lawyer will be there, and also mainly out from the Ohanaeze Ndigbo, other legal luminaries also from that platform will be joining for that court process.
All right, Chukwuma Kenwa. The Chief Justice equally noted that the monitoring by Ohaneze Ndigbo was, in his own terms, unnecessary. Do you share that sentiment from Justice Malami?
I do not. It is very, very necessary because, of course, it does appear the way government has handled the issues of security, the issues of, like when it has to do with criminal cases. It appears that we have some sacred cows, so all animals are equal, but some are more important. Now the head has marauded and inflicted harms, pains, injuries, and even sometimes resulting to death. And we are here to see anybody brought to book. We're here to see the presidency demonstrate against the Miyetti Allah, a group that is determined to cause mayhem on the country. So this selective justice system doesn't help, and over time, the federal government have not shown that all parts of the country are equal, and that is why it is very, very important that when that unfairness is meted out in terms of trial, then of course you need to be around to ensure it doesn't go the way of the federal government.
Right now, Justice Binta Nyako has fixed July 26, beg your pardon, for the continuation of Mr. Kanu's trial. Now, how do you see this even playing out? Will the presence of the Ohanese's legal team have any influence in this matter in any way?
Well, first, let me observe with the recent development of recent announcement that likely by that 26, it coincides with the vacation, the recess of the court, and some court has been announced, and possibly that may even affect the sitting for that day. And the court coming back again will be like in September. So that could also be like a way to ensure that justice is delayed. But how be it, the presence of the Ohaneze Ndigbo, what that will help is to ensure that when you see your own person being tried, your presence alone will help the courts. We even help like those trying to victimize come up with Trump charges to know that the man is not alone, because as much as whatever charge that may have been placed against him and the family, one thing is he spoke against issues of marginalization, issues of destruction of the Igbo communities. I mean, we see lives, we see headers, destroying farms, we see headers killing farmers. It does happen in the region, and these are things he has spoken about that. We probably do not support the way he has done about some of these issues and all the rest of it. It would have been more civil. But albeit the truth was duly said, he spoke on issues that affect the basic Igbo communities that our governors, our legislators failed to speak, and he cashed it into the leadership gap and made bold his stand.
Okay, Chukwuma, before we let you go, Justice Malami has welcomed this formation by the Ohaneze Ndigbo, to monitor the proceedings once the trial does commence, should it commence on July 26. But it only begs the question, we know that IPOB has been proscribed by the federal government as a terrorist unit, and that's why, through the activities of Nnamdi Kanu, that's why he's on trial, that's why he's been arrested after jumping bail. But you have the Ohaneze, who clearly, many will say, are they really for IPOB? Are they not for IPOB? But yet, they are monitoring legally the trials, come when the trials will go on. Doesn't it go back to that issue about, the divisive topic of tribe in Nigeria, always a sticking point in everything, legal or not?
I mean, it's really embarrassing because ordinarily the court should be the last hope of the common man, such that if you don't even have an Ohaneze, or maybe an Oduduwa, people standing behind you, the courts of competent jurisdiction should be able to look at the case with fairness, equity, and ensure that justice is duly served. But this situation that even plays out, even in the temple of justice, such that there are those fears that if truly people are not properly represented, there could be a possibility of subverting justice. It really makes a call to beg for the basic question: is the Nigerian courts still the temple of justice? I think it's a call on lawyers and the MBA to really go back and have a review, have a rethink on how we want to position the criminal justice system in Nigeria to be able to meet up with global best practices. Everybody should be equal before the law, irrespective of who is involved.
All right. Thank you so much, Chukwuma Kenwa, Executive Director of Lead Network Africa and Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you for your time today on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, still on Breakfast Central this morning. Coming up next on the program.
Well, trends across Africa will let you know what's trending from where. And Nigeria's D Tigers have done it again, this time beating Argentina in basketball.
And we'll be giving you programs to watch on News Central later today.
Kuna kallon News Central TV.
You are still watching Breakfast Central on this Tuesday, 13th day of July 2021. Let's go down to South Africa, where the President Cyril Ramaphosa has confirmed that the death toll linked to ongoing protests in the country has risen to 10. He addressed citizens there last night, explaining the reason for deploying the military to the affected area. Now, almost 500 people have been arrested as a result of the unrest.
Now, earlier, News Central had political analyst Tessa Dooms, who spoke to us concerning the fact that the protest and the looting started on Thursday, and the president had his first speech just yesterday.
Very late intervention into this, and not only given what has happened in the last few days, but given the fact that this is ultimately a political issue first. And we know that since around January, February this year, there have been rumblings from within the ANC and from within different political factions talking about mobilizing around this moment, around the moment that a defense of Jacob Zuma would be necessary to make sure that he stays out of jail, or in this case now is released from jail. And so you would have hoped that the president and the ANC leadership at large have been working on this issue for many, many months, as opposed to responding in a moment of crisis. But it seems that this is now a knee-jerk reaction, as opposed to a very measured and considered action that has both a grassroots element to it, as well as a security and law enforcement element.
All right, South African journalist Tessa Dooms there, and giving us the latest in terms of the unrest we've seen. So it's Zuma supporters.
Yes, pro-Zuma.
Pro-Zuma supporters.
Clearly, it is a political situation, tense situation as it is now, because the protesters are asking for Zuma to be released. But let's not forget, Zuma himself gave himself up to be put in the quarters or the four corners of the prison wall for contempt in court, and he has to spend 15 months in prison. Now, the people, the pro-Zuma protesters are coming out, and they're really angry with the action of the government. I mean, talking about President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Well, there's been looting, widespread looting, vandalization of property, which the president came out yesterday and gave a huge stance. Now, he's been criticized in some quarters for why didn't he come out earlier and speak. Well, it's turned into quite a tense situation, isn't it?
It is. It has actually. I mean, Olisa, looking at the business owners coming from the side of business now, how many of these business owners have their stores, their goods, a lot of their products insured? I mean, we just read in the papers this morning talking about the number of traders who have lost millions and possibly did not insure their goods and their store at large.
And Zuma said he doesn't control these people, who go out on the streets to cause such mayhem. We'll continue to follow that story right here on News Central, also on Breakfast Central. Right, stick on about Breakfast Central this morning. Up next is Who Said What?
Today, England will beat Italy.
England never fought match.
I'll say it again. That is the work of a prophet.
I don't know what
You keep saying what
saying? You hear what I said? I said England. I'm saying it on YouTube everywhere. Social media. England will win the cup.
Clearly.
Oh my gosh.
Clearly, the man of God was so confident.
Yeah.
I mean, as we say, he talked out with him full chest.
Oh my gosh. I suppose Dr. Emmanuel, as a prophet, in Ghana there. And I suppose that was Sunday service.
Before the match.
Kick-off at night. And he was very categorical that England will win the cup.
I mean, he said it. I mean, he said he saw it. It was a clear vision that he saw that England would take home the cup.
I wonder what the congregation, numbers would be like this coming Sunday.
Even prior to Sunday, during the week, I wonder what the week service would be like, the body language, and how it will affect or not affect the offering.
And for those, punters out there who like to put their money where their mouth is before football matches, if I was the type and I went to church and my prophet told me that England will win the cup, and I had $100 or CDs or Naira to put on that, and I put my money on England, I would not be a happy man by Monday morning.
Well,
or perhaps, which means that is my offering money for next Sunday. Come on, really. Anyway, so we bring you all the puns right here on Breakfast Central.
Don't forget, you can watch us on live. We're on all platforms, all social media platforms, as Olisa would like to say. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and you can stream live as well. And don't forget, you can catch us on StarTimes channel 274 and Avo TV channel 23, and of course, you can always get us on YouTube.
Right. Now, with daily reports of controversial stories and events, even the bizarre of prophet wrong prediction, one may begin to wonder what fuels some of them. And let's join, none other than our correspondent Michael Ingene for more on the Community Report.
All right, Olisa. Good morning, and good morning to you, Oluchi. Okay.
Michael, why you sounded like if you went to that church and the pastor disappointed you?
Were you in that team?
England would beat Italy. I saw that video and I'm like, seriously? I'm just wondering what his congregation would be, how they're going to be looking at him right now.
No offering for me on Sunday. That's me.
10%.
All right, let me just bring you guys, what is trending. It's not actually Community Report, but rather Trend Wave right here on Breakfast Central. So, we brought you a story about Chidinma Ojukwu, the alleged suspect in the murder of, media executive Michael Ataga. Now, the story, if you've been following it, is changing. The story is really, really changing. Before now, she said, I killed him, I stabbed him a couple of times because we were fighting. He tried to, get over me and all of that, rape me or whatever she called it. But right now, the story has changed. Let's take a look at this video.
Happy married life or something. It was just more of catering for his kid. He gave me the card because I was trying to make payment and it didn't go through. So he gave me the card. I didn't have access to his card, but I know the PIN code. Before I was leaving, he stood up to lock the door. But when I got in, I was knocking. As there was no answer, I opened the door, was already open, like it wasn't locked. And the duvet was on the floor, plus pillows. The bed, the couch was facing the door, and the bed was stained with blood already.
Okay, so the duvet was on the floor, the pillow was stained with blood, whatever, and boom. Now that goes to, kind of raise so many questions. What actually happened in this case? So Lisa, remember when I brought you guys the report about 2 weeks back? I told you guys that there are reports that she didn't act alone. And people are beginning to even ask, what actually is happening? What are they turning this lady into? Let's get to see. Okay, Olisa.
Okay, hold on, Mike. That is an alleged murder suspect, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
For murder.
Right.
What's she doing on TV? Where was that interview granted?
Okay,
I'm surprised. That looked like, she looked good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's just take some of the comments and I'll come back and answer your question.
Okay.
Some of the comments that Nigerians actually put out on social media. Okay, this is from Media Mogul, Ubi Franklin. Dear Nigeria Police, you una do well. A murder suspect is now being allowed to do several interviews for TV channels. This is sad. You can imagine the family right now who will be asking for justice. Let's go more, have some of other requests. Okay, real worried Pekin. Wait, so this girl don't turn celebrity murderer or what? Now, wow. Well, that's the question so many people are asking. Let's take one more now. Daddy Free says, Omona, wow, this girl is a great storyteller. The version don't reach 5 in my humble opinion, Sha. Now, the question is, Olisa, you just asked why the series of interviews. Shouldn't the police be more interested
Michael, has she been granted bail?
Confirmed?
Has she been granted bail for her to...
She's not been granted bail.
So how come she left police custody to grant... That looks like a proper stage set media interview.
Yeah,
the
lighting, the makeup, the aesthetics, her hair was pretty done, and, you know, some people are saying, is she now a celebrity murderer?
No, celebrity or not. Well, there's a legal system here that, you know, that looks like it's being trumped under the table. Is she still in custody or has she been granted bail?
She's still in police custody. There's no report that she's been granted bail.
Have her lawyers released any statement?
We've not seen any statement from her lawyers.
I mean, clearly there's so many questions.
And how does this, you know, because this is one version of a story, unlike the other media public interrogative shame of another version of the story that we saw earlier when we first talked about this story. Because
Olisa, let me just come in here.
It looks like a mockery of our justice system here, because on the one hand, there's the victim's family who need justice. There's also suspect rights. So which one are we bumbling now?
At this point.
Exactly. Series of interviews. Before even this interview dropped, there was another one she did with, I think that dropped last week. And of course, the storyline was pretty much different from this one. So these are the questions. What is the police doing? Instead of letting her grant interviews.
What's her legal team doing? Are they the ones, you know?
That's the thing. So all of these things she's been saying, people are now asking questions on how will this, you know, how will this actually play out at the end of the day? Because she's saying 3 different things. So which one are we going to stick with? Going by, looking out for her getting freedom or probably the family getting justice. So what? And of course, I think if you ask me right now, I'm going to tell you that our legal team probably, in the word, let me just say, confused, sort of, because
Mike,
yeah,
it's an alleged murder case.
Yes.
When are we going to court? When are we going to court? When is she going to be charged?
I think, Olisa, the question will have to be answered by the police, and of course, I believe that the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Hakeem Odumosu, they're on top of the case, as we've been told. And of course, when we are going to court, I'll definitely let you guys.
Please, we need that.
Oh my God.
All right, my last story was, there's been this call for clerics and of course leaders in churches to speak up and of course air their views regarding the polity and of course how things have been done. Some time ago, this popular Nigerian pastor, Pastor Paul Adefarasin, the head pastor of House on the Rock Churches, came out to talk about Nigerians having a plan B. But hey, I think he's not done yet, because he came out on Sunday and dropped another statement. He said something that I think everyone should listen to.
Mentioned the economy, mentioned culture. You've got to go into politics and government deliberate. By the way, if we don't fix some of Nigeria's problems today, that is this INEC problem. To say it plainly, INEC, put me in trouble if you like, it is a fraud. The numbers in Nigeria, as far as census are concerned, and as far as election is concerned, are a lie. And if nobody will speak up about it, the righteous will speak. And our righteousness is not of ourselves. It is of him, and he will protect. Hallelujah. It is important. It is skewed now so that where the numbers are not properly reflected in our voting. This is the only country in West Africa where you move from the ocean to the desert and the numbers decrease, or rather, they increase. The only country. It's the only country in the world where you move from a large body of water to little or no water, and the numbers increase. It was not Nigerians that started it. It was the parents of Nigeria who were not good parents.
Okay, Olisa, you guys just heard it, and he said, in quote, that INEC is a fraud. Do you share the same sentiment, Olisa, analogy?
Well, You see my opinion, you want to get on that?
I don't think you need to ask me. You can see my hands are up here now.
Well, I just needed to put you guys on the spot there real quick. But hey, before I let you guys go, let's see how Nigerians are reacting to the comments of the senior pastor of House on the Rock, Pastor Paula Defarasin. This is from Blessing AI Climate. He says, Pastor Paula Defarasin is speaking fire again today. Our country must work. Okay, 2, 3 before we go. Okay, this one is from Olaruwaju's, and of course he says, take from them and give the poor. All right, God deal. Well, the pastor said that if he gets into the system, what he's going to do is that all of this money that, in quotes, are being siphoned, he's going to take them and give to the poor. That's what he said. And the last one is, he is absolutely right. Africa will forever be ungrateful, to Frederick Lugard. Well, these are some of the trends that we were able to catch up for you right here on Trend Wave on Breakfast Central. My name is Michael, and getting back to you guys, and I'll definitely catch you guys next tomorrow, and I hope that we might get interesting trends, but if they are not interesting, be sure to catch them right here on the channel.
Thanks, Mike, as always. Top job bringing us the latest when it comes to trends across Africa. But this time you came from Nigeria.
Yes,
I think I should start going to church. You know, maybe at this, you know, I think these pastors are becoming, they are preaching.
Olisa, I know you will make heaven. You will make heaven. I'm quite confident.
Wait, not everybody has that ambition. You know, so to speak, you know, but maybe I should start going, because they're talking about governance, INEC, politics. Maybe they can start doing sports
and youth engagement in politics.
You are. All right, still to come right here on Breakfast Central. We'll tell you about Nigeria's basketball team, the D Tigers. They are doing wonders, beating top teams from around the world. Right, you're still watching Breakfast Central on this Tuesday. Let's take you some sports stories right now. It's all about Nigeria's D Tigers. They are ready to rumble, if you may. They have beaten Argentina, who are the second team. Now check out that result. 94-71. You're not sleeping. It's real. Nigeria, that team there, led by the likes of Nnamdi and Okoje, they all had a fantastic game against Argentina, who are the 4th-ranked team in basketball in the world. Don't forget, the other day on Saturday night, they defeated USA, the #1 team, and now they defeated Argentina, which means that preparations for the Olympics 2020 are really up and go. So they defeated that team 94-71 in Las Vegas last night. Detroit Pistons big man Jahil Okafor led Nigeria with 15 points, while Josh Okoje and Chimeze Metu all had 10 points each. We hear Nigeria will have the preparations. More to come on Tuesday when they take on Australia. And don't forget, Nigeria will be in Group B once the Olympics starts. John Ball, July 25th in Japan. So Nigeria in Group B alongside Australia, Italy and Germany. And we say good luck to this team led by Mike Brown. They're doing quite well. They might be hoped for a medal. Perhaps in the world of basketball, you never know. Good luck to Nigeria's D Tigers. Well, away from basketball, Euro 2020 has come and gone. The trophy did not come home. It went to Rome. But away from all that, there's been quite some sad reactions to it. The couple of players who are of Black or African heritage in England's team, that man there, Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford, and Jadon Sancho, all 3 of these guys missed England's penalties, and they received racist tweets, racist insults. It was terrible, and that really made the headlines yesterday. England manager Gareth Southgate has come out to say that the racist abuse aimed at these 3 players is, in his own words, unforgivable. Marcus Rashford also released a statement saying that I can take critique of my performance all day long. My penalty was not good enough. It should not have gone that way, but I never apologize for who I am and where I am from. And this manager is very unhappy about the racist abuse towards his players. So that's really been the sore point of all this, the loss of England to Italy as a result of that defeat on Sunday night against that team in Euro 2020. So there you have it in the world of sports. There'll be lots to chew on much later on In the Game at 10:30 a.m. West African time, right here on News Central. But later today on this station,
at 1 p.m. West African time, we have Beyond the Continent.
Village Square Africa. Gather around at 7 p.m. West African time for that one.
And do not turn off your TV. By 9 p.m. West African time, we have NC Continental Prime.
Wow, I guess that's our package for today on Breakfast Central on Tuesday. But don't worry, we'll be here once again. It does look like a bit of a downer after all that weekend of sports. We had too many sports in the last couple of weeks.
Back to back, and Nigeria
Euros,
is
Wimbledon. Yeah.
I mean, my guy, Lionel Messi, Copa America, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's been a wonderful day. We will see you tomorrow. On behalf of the production crew, myself, and Olise, we're saying, do have a lovely day.
Bye-bye.